Let's all go to the lobby, lobby, lobby. Let's all go to the. Let's all go to the. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the. Let's all go to the. Let's all go to the.
What is up, movie lovers? I was going to say brewskis. Almost got myself there. This is the One Reel In podcast, a podcast where two dudes review a move. It's the best I got right.
I like it.
The movie that we are going to be reviewing today is none other than Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. But we also have to do a very, very brief review of the previous movie, which is Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning. Which was technically supposed to be Dead Reckoning Part 1. They threw that out. As always, my friend, my compatriot, my fellow movie lover, Marco Dupa. What we have here to drink is a little thing I like to call the Dead Reckoning. Excuse me, the Final Reckoning.
The Dead Reckoning Part 2.
The Dead Reckoning Part 2, which is vodka. It is frozen dragonfruit lemonade that was initially in very fancy little ice balls in there. It has since melted. And also Italian blood orange juice soda.
Okay.
So that's what we will be enjoying. I'm going to go ahead and pour this.
Yeah.
Tune in.
Pour it up. Pour it up. Oh. The theme song's first with One Reel In.
I always forget
theme
that.
Song's first.
Well, we got to do these more often.
You're right. We absolutely do.
It keeps me rusty when I'm not able to express these movie thoughts and feelings.
I agree. I don't agree with you being rusty.
Thank you.
I agree with us needing to do it more often. So
Okay.
I think I don't know, three 1 beer ins
To one.
We
one
do it like
reel in?
at least once a month.
Yeah.
At least once a month.
Okay.
Start cranking these boys out.
Until October, which obviously is owned by One Reel In.
Mm-hmm.
It's something to look forward to if you haven't already.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you don't know, Not So Sober October and horror movies.
That's right.
Yeah.
Clink to Tom Cruise. Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Not bad at all.
Oh, a little Celsius water in there just to balance things out, I should
Just
say.
to balance it all out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, as I said before, we need to start with Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning. I should say we have gone through each of these movies years ago at this point to review them. So go ahead and check those out first if you haven't already.
2019, right before
COVID?
Yeah. We started we did that.
The before times.
Yeah. And somehow we just missed Dead Reckoning.
Yeah.
I don't know how. Maybe we just planned on doing it and then just it fell off the schedule and then we just never
COVID
did
hit.
it. Then COVID hit. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're here to correct that wrong right now. So, briefly, very briefly, I will give the Google overview for Dead Reckoning. Goes as follows. Ethan Hunt and the IMF team must track down a terrifying new weapon that threatens all of humanity if it falls into the wrong hands. With control of the future and the fate of the world at stake, a deadly race around the globe begins. Confronted by a mysterious, all-powerful enemy, Ethan is forced to consider that nothing can matter more than the mission, not even the lives of those he cares most about.
But even that's kind of bullshit, right? Because the whole point is that he cares about his team more than life itself, it seems.
Yeah, but his team ultimately always forces him to do the right thing, basically,
Yeah.
To sacrifice them if need be.
But he never does. Does he? I don't remember any time where he has to
I mean, they make it. There's usually at least one scene, especially in this like second half of the Mission Impossible films, that somebody is at risk of death. They're in dire straits. Somebody needs to be saved, and they're like, "Forget about me. Go do the thing. Save the world or whatever." So
the world or whatever.
I mean, I think ultimately we're led to believe that Ethan is this person who cares more about the team than really anything else, because he's lost people in the past. I mean, since the first movie, he's lost his team members. Yeah. So I do like that they kind of pull from that throughout the entire franchise, really. But yeah, I mean, I think things, and this is, no spoiler warning for the next movie quite yet, but I feel like they kind of...
But by the way, you should be anticipating spoilers
for everything. Everything. For the entire franchise, mind you. I just feel like that becomes old hat by the time we get to the end of this franchise. I feel like it kind of ended when it needed to, because it does feel a little formulaic when you look at it from this 100,000 foot view. Mm-hmm. But I feel like this, specifically these last two films, really focus in on the legacy of IMF and Ethan specifically and his team, because I think the team behind this whole thing is smart enough and aware enough to know that, like, we've done this so many times before.
Yeah,
we need to like up the stakes as best as we can, and obviously these movies are always anchored by Tom Cruise doing crazy stuff. The stunts is what keeps people coming back.
Right. We have to have a whole conversation about the stunts.
Yes.
Especially in the last one.
Yeah. So, with all that being said, I think they've kind of ended things when they needed to. I think this is the right place for it to kind of reach its conclusion. This movie came out July 10th, 2023. So, we are in a post-COVID world. Things have finally started coming back. We're back in the movies, which has a lot to do with Tom Cruise. And I think it was this movie. I think it was this one that tape came out of him screaming at somebody for like breaking protocol. Or was it Fallout?
It might have been the one before this one, because I think that one was filmed.
But Fallout was 2018.
So it must have been this one.
So I think it was this one.
Yeah, it had to be this one.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, this was one of those movies that I did feel like at the time of watching, because we should be clear, you and I haven't seen this movie in a while.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a stale review. I wouldn't mind going back and rewatching, especially after, watching Final Reckoning.
I just wouldn't mind going back and just rewatching anyway.
Sure. I do remember leaving the theater feeling like it was good, but not as good as Fallout.
Yeah.
And like...
I think I remember you saying that too in the moment.
I hate to blame it on COVID, but it definitely felt like a COVID movie. Like, things felt like they didn't go exactly to plan. It felt like it was a bit of a mishmash of a movie.
Yeah. I mean, you can always tell when these movies, when they do a bunch of like reshoots, and it is funny that movie making is such a difficult undertaking technically, because you have to do so much just to keep the wheels spinning.
Yeah.
And that was part of his rant, was like, we have to do so much.
Right.
So many things are at stake to get this. Now, obviously, Tom Cruise is the last great movie star, and also, I think making movies has become his only religion outside of...
Well, not his only religion.
We're not going to talk about that.
No, we can't. Can't do it.
But I think that he takes it is truly life or death for him. And so, you'll hear something like that rant, for instance, and be like, hey, man, you're not saving lives out here. But his whole point was, we kind of are.
Yeah.
We kind of are keeping food on people's tables,
Yeah.
bills paid, jobs are intact. We brought he essentially, I don't know if you saw that article about how like he essentially brought the industry back by lying about how they were making the movie, and he called a bunch of studios and was like, "You guys aren't." Oh shit! He was like, "Couldn't be me though.
Right,
like
right,
you guys
right.
aren't doing this. Oh
Right.
shit! I thought you guys were Universal.
Yeah.
I guess.
Thought you were professionals.
And then they were like, "Fuck! Tom Cruise is back. He's doing shit. We gotta get on this, man. We can't be. What the fuck?"
Well, and on top of that, it was him going out of his way to clearly promote other movies that were coming out at the time.
Yeah.
So, say what you will about the man, who he is personally, you're probably right. But what he's done for the industry that made him is incredible.
I mean, I think it goes without saying that all of the Scientology stuff and like his personal life is very, very strange. And I think that we did this when we decided to spend like 6 weeks doing all of the Mission Impossible movies
yeah.
up until Dead Reckoning. But I will just say, just for the record, like, we don't know the extent of all the weirdness that's gone on in like how as he's a member of the of Scientology or the Scientological Church. Is that a Church of Scientology?
Church of Scientology, yeah.
We don't know.
Careful, we're pretty close to the Clearwater. They'll come after you.
I'm just saying that like we you can't really comment on that other than like the little stuff that comes out, like that one lady, that interviewer who was like, "What are you gonna do on Father's Day?" And he's like visibly uncomfortable talking about Father's Day.
He's like a AI computer that like you ask a prompt, it doesn't know how to respond
Yeah,
to, so it
and
just
it was like,
reverts to
just
making movies, watching some movies.
It was really weird and kind of sad, and
Yeah.
we just don't know enough to be like he's a bad father or what have you. Probably is, but so just to say, we're not ignoring that part,
Sure.
but it's like, what do we really gain from having an hour-long conversation about his weird personal life?
Yeah. Well,
So-
and we had this conversation too in the theater while we were waiting for the movie to start for the final reckoning. And, a lot of people nowadays, a lot of journalists don't even ask him about his personal life anymore because they know he's not going to respond to it. He's not going to respond to it well. He'll probably shut you down. You're not going to get the answers you're looking for.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I do think there's a certain sense within the film community that, yes, this guy's very problematic in his personal life and his personal choices and whatnot. But he has been a savior for what we do. And that includes journalists, too, because they're part of that ecosystem.
Yeah.
So leave him alone. Let him cook.
And even this interview that he had where that lady asked him about Father's Day, and all the comments were like, "Nice, good question. Sometimes you just gotta go after him and all this stuff." And I was just like, "Why though?"
Right.
It was like BuzzFeed or like some pop culture.
It wasn't even a gotcha question, though.
But it kind of is, though, I think.
For him, I guess,
That's what I'm
but-
saying. For asking him specifically, knowing what you know about his family, as an industry insider, as a movie journalist,
You would hope.
she knows.
You would hope. You would
So
hope.
I think it would be ignorant to say that she didn't do it on purpose, at least trying to get some kind of interesting question. What are you going to do on Father's Day?
Yeah.
You haven't seen him with his kids in like the last 10 years.
Yeah.
You know he ain't doing shit on Father's Day. He's going to the movies. That's what he's going to do.
Yeah,
He's
eat
just going
some
to watch
popcorn.
more movies. He's just going to throw that popcorn into his mouth with deadly accuracy.
Yep.
So yeah, it's just not worth the trouble. And for all intents and purposes, when you hear his co-stars and industry people talk about him, they act like he's Jesus, man. They talk about this guy like he is.
Yeah.
He's a god walking among men.
I have zero doubt in a professional circumstance, he is a consummate professional.
Well, everyone always says that he talks to the crew.
Yeah.
He talks to craft services. He knows everybody's birthday.
Yeah.
And I mean, essentially being
He's a freak.
He's a freak. Yeah. He's
it's
not
the
normal.
one thing that gives him life. And so he is all in on that.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those situations. Not to call him a genius because I don't know him, but it is kind of that thing where you see somebody that is so good at that one thing, but everything else in their lives suffer for it.
Yeah.
I think that's the same circumstance.
Yeah.
with Tom
So he's
Cruise.
the Michael Jordan of making movies.
Sure. Yeah.
Not the greatest actor of all time, but definitely
Certainly
the
not.
greatest. I think you could put him up there with the Michael Bays, the Jerry Bruckheimers, I'm spacing on his name now.
Spielberg.
No, but yes, but I wasn't thinking Spielberg. Not yet. I was thinking Terminator director.
Oh, Cameron.
Yeah.
Jim.
Cameron. Old Jim.
Yeah.
He's up there with the quintessential movie not just like directors or writers
Sure.
but movie makers.
Industry
the process
people.
of making a movie.
Yeah.
He's on that Mount Rushmore now.
Absolutely.
I think even if the stuff
Jumping
that he's
off of
done. Yeah. So, yeah, you gotta give him props. You have to, I think what people do is when they talk, like people who know him personally, they probably compartmentalize the idea of
Absolutely.
this guy is probably the worst person to be around personally.
Yeah.
But in a professional setting, he's the best. He seems like he's
Yeah.
the fucking best.
I wouldn't think he knows how to be a human when he's not performing.
Right.
So I think this is a long shot here, but I think probably when he's hanging out with the cast and crew, he's putting on a show.
Yeah.
He's still acting.
Yeah.
When he gets home or he goes to his trailer, I mean, I don't know if he knows how to deal with himself. I don't know if maybe that's what the Scientology stuff is all for.
Well,
Maybe he just
it's
folds into that after, but
it's one of two things. Either he's like looking at himself in the mirror and he's just like, you mispronounced that guy's name. You should fucking kill yourself. What's the matter with you, TC? Are you out of your mind? No one's gonna want to make another movie with you again.
You're saving movies.
You deserve everything and nothing. You're the worst. Or he goes into his trailer and it's like a super fast time cut thing where like he sits down, sits at the couch, and he just goes, and then you see like the sun go down, and
Hey, Tom, we're ready for you.
then he just stands
Okay.
up and just goes with that big Tom Cruise smile on his face.
Absolutely.
Because like when that clip came out, I think people were like, "Oh, there he is. That's the real guy."
Yeah.
And even that I don't think is true necessarily, because he was just really angry that this person was fucking up making the movie.
That personalized him to me. That made him seem
Yeah,
like
I think
a
we had a
human
whole
being.
thing where
Yeah,
that's
we talked
exactly
about
the stance that we had, was that like it made him seem like, it was shitty the way he was talking to like a key grip or something, but this was fucking life or death.
But that's the thing. Is
the
like
whole industry was on the line.
I believe he would talk to a co-star that way if they fucked up.
Yeah. It didn't come off like he was big shot movie star talking
No.
to some, like that clip of Christian Bale.
Oh yeah.
That one came off like he was like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
Get him off my movie set.
Yep.
Tom Cruise was like, do you understand what's at stake here? Do you understand what we're doing here?
Yeah.
Like, if you don't know, then like move on.
Yeah. If you don't get it, go away.
Just go.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we're not going to address that anymore.
Sure.
Okay. That was the elephant in the room. Let's talk about the movies.
Okay. All right. So briefly, Dead Reckoning, the movie, it is directly connected to Final Reckoning. In fact, we get kind of a super edit of the movie itself before we see Final Reckoning.
Which they've been doing for the past like 3 movies now.
Yeah.
Where they're like,
Yeah.
it always feels like it's the last one.
Right.
And then there's another one.
And another one.
So wait, you're doing No, you're doing Dead Reckoning.
Dead Reckoning first, yeah. Because these two movies, I guess technically were thought of as 2 parts of the same story, which
Yeah.
they are. I mean, it's a continuation clearly. the ultimate villain at the end of Dead Reckoning does not go defeated at the end of the movie.
Right.
It is sort of a cliffhanger.
Which, now that I'm thinking about it, and like, we're obviously positive that we didn't do Dead Reckoning, but I'm really positive because I have thoughts on the villain that I know that I haven't shared yet.
Okay. So as far as the villain, it's a bit of a bait and switch because at first it is kind of thought that it is Gabriel.
Yeah.
Is the name of the character, Issei Morales. And he seems like a traditional, bad guy.
Yeah.
Typical villain for these kinds of movies. And it turns out he's only working for this secret AI that was created by the Russians, I believe.
I guess.
To be this supercomputer that has nuclear capabilities, because, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
Which sinks to the bottom of the ocean because... No, the way to stop it is sunk to the bottom of the ocean by the AI itself.
Yeah.
As a protection protocol for itself, for survival.
Not a ghost protocol, though.
No, not a ghost protocol. We have more about that on another YouTube video. So the big twist is that it's actually not a person. It's AI, literally AI, that has this grand plan. It's almost like it has become sentient and now has plans to essentially destroy the world.
It's Skynet.
It is Skynet. It's quite literally going to do Judgment Day.
Yeah.
And launch all the nukes, and we're toast.
Yeah.
And I don't think we get into it in this movie, but it's revealed that the plan is to bomb most of humanity away, and those who survive will be the children of the atom. And worship it, and it'll be recreated. The Earth will be recreated in the image of this AI.
Right.
Your thoughts?
Well, I get what him and McHugh were trying to do with this.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate, like, especially in Dead Reckoning, which I will obviously get to, but they really hone in on the point of, like, AI bad,
Yes.
human good.
Yes.
And I do love and appreciate that because I obviously feel the same way.
Yeah.
And so I did like that. The bait and switch of it being AI, I don't really have a problem with.
The AI called the entity, by the
Entity.
way, just so you know.
My big issue with Dead and Final Reckoning is Issei Morales.
Yeah.
Just a nothing burger.
Yeah.
He just is nothing.
He is such a stock villain.
Yeah, he is so default setting that it has to be on purpose.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like, he's not charming enough.
No.
I mean, he's not tough enough. He's not evil enough. Like, he's just right there, right in the middle of where he needs to be. He is the most serviceable, and I don't mean to shit on the actor himself, but he just really doesn't bring anything to the table. No. You've got Henry Cavill, Philip Seymour Hoffman,
all-timer.
Like, there's just...
And dare I bring up Sean Harris.
Sean Harris?
What's his name? Solomon Kane.
Yeah, he was great. He was
right?
great.
Lane.
Yeah, Lane.
Solomon Lane.
Amazing.
So good.
A great, creepy, quiet kind of...
It's like a snake.
You have no idea what's coming. Like, and then you get to the end...
Yeah.
The big bad, the guy coming back from his past is just some guy. He's just some guy.
Just the guy.
And it really, every time he's on screen, I'm like, he's not magnetic. He's just not, I'm sorry, but like they really failed in that regard. And
he's not a good foil for Tom Cruise either.
No, not even close. Because, and that's the thing, again, it has to be on purpose because Tom... I don't know. I think if he wanted someone who could match him wit to wit, he would have gone with a better actor,
Yeah.
or at least a more well-known actor, somebody with a little more gravitas.
Sure.
But I think that he kind of was just like, these last couple movies, they're going to be the TC show.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be doing all these crazy stunts, and it's going to be about, because it's essentially like, it is just all about Ethan Hunt. I mean, the series has been, obviously.
And the
but
team. It's more about them than the villain.
I think, yeah. And I think that they take center stage, and I just don't think that he's threatening enough.
Yeah, no.
Like,
he's not anywhere as scary as Solomon was.
No.
He doesn't have that factor about him. He's not a physically imposing person either. So he really doesn't have anything other than being essentially like a 007 villain.
Right.
Because he seems like suave and kind of like intelligent.
Yeah, he's handsome and serviceable. Like, he does
Sure.
what he's there to do. But I mean, like,
He seems capable. It's just not. I don't buy him.
When we get to Final Reckoning and they're doing the plane
stunt
that we'll obviously get to in more detail, but he just was like he's flying and he's looking back, and all I could think was just like, he's such a mustache twirling, like,
I mean, literally, he's laughing as he's being chased.
like, yeah, he's just not good, man.
Yeah.
He's just not good. So that's like my biggest beef, and I think, like, I thought that in the first in Dead Reckoning, I was like, the bait and switch thing, I guess, works because he's more of a proxy for the real villain.
Yeah,
but then the
completely
real
is.
villain being just a thing and not a person to kind of sink your teeth into.
That is my biggest problem with these last two movies.
Yeah.
Is that we don't have a face. We don't have like that ultimate baddie that we can point to and be like, that's the main bad guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Because in this one, in Dead Reckoning, he works for the entity.
Right.
In the next one, he's at odds with it, like the team
He wants
is.
to control the entity. Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, he wants to control it. But so now the big bad is the third player in this thing now.
Yeah.
And now it's this like race to
So who gets the entity first?
Yeah, and yeah, just all of that stuff is kind of, the stakes are a little I think if I could criticize Final Reckoning before we get into it, the stakes are a little like, it's I know that they were big, and
Sure.
and there were really good moments with like Angela Bassett kind of, but I don't know, I just kind of felt like, well, there's no shot that these nukes are getting so it was just kind of like, I think that they should have either made the stakes lower to kind of illustrate that like something could be bad. Like, we're talking about the world being over.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
nuclear apocalypse.
yeah, and it was so clear that wasn't going to happen.
Sure.
So now you're just like, well, I'm just going to have fun with this.
Yeah.
So
basically.
I guess,
I mean, I did like the idea that they. I shouldn't get into it yet, but really quick, the idea within Final Reckoning that they were saying, okay, we're going to nuke one American city, and like use that as sort of a jumping off point to show that we're not nuking other places.
right.
At least that was my understanding. I don't know. I only
Yeah,
saw one.
it seemed like they were like, well, you got to do that so that people know that, like, I couldn't really tell if they were trying to say nuke an American city to trick people into thinking that we also got nuked so that you can't blame us.
Right.
Or
That was-
as like a show of good faith.
Look, we did.
We're
it to
gonna kill you
ourselves.
guys, but like we killed us too. It was a little confusing.
There was a lot of. It was the beginning of the movie was very narrative heavy.
Yeah, a lot of plop, plop, plop.
Yeah. But anyway, okay.
Yes, we'll get there.
Back to Dead Reckoning. Briefly, I think the highs, as always, are the ensemble cast. They add Haley Atwell here. Great. They bring back some faves like Ving Rhames and Simon Pegg. They add in Palm Clemteef. who will return in Final Reckoning.
Palm Clinty will return.
And yeah, I mean, I think they just had a really good. Again, like I think people underappreciate how hard it is to get a good ensemble for an action movie.
Her name is Paris, and she's a French assassin named Paris.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
They just did.
Why not?
They phoned that one in hard.
But yeah, I mean, I think people undervalue the how hard it is to get an ensemble action movie team right.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
You see that in the later Fast and Furious movies, where it's like, what are you doing here? You know, like you're adding nothing.
Yeah. No, he really. Yeah. They're definitely. Yeah, there's an art to this.
Yes.
That TC's got down.
Yeah, and I think they do it well with this movie. I mean, all of the movies I think have a good ensemble, even though some of the characters don't come back. I think everyone that's been involved in these missions as an ensemble has been really good.
Yeah.
So I think that's a highlight for me, as well as obviously the stunts again are top notch.
Yeah.
You get the motorcycle jump off of the mountain.
Yeah, that was the big one.
You get the train sequence that's very Uncharted. What else? I'm trying to think. Oh, the car chase scene.
Oh yeah,
which was a lot of fun. I've seen that actually went viral because people are like, I'm so glad they like had fun in these movies too. It wasn't all just deathly serious. I'm looking at you, the last James Bond movie.
Yeah,
that was just such a
brutal,
bummer.
such a brutal,
horrible
movie.
Yeah, so I think all of that together leads it to be a good addition, not a great one for me. I'd probably give it a 4.5 out of 6 bottle caps.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the negatives, as we discussed, the issue with the entity.
Yeah.
And
the villain was just not
Gabriel not being
villain.
very interesting as a villain.
Yeah. Well, the movie moves at like a breakneck pace, and Tom Cruise is obviously Tom Cruise on screen. He's so amazing, and the addition of Haley Atwell and Palm Clemente, I don't know.
Clemente.
Yeah. Vanessa Kirby's in this one. Is she in the one before this one, or is this the one that she's in?
No, she's in before. I think 2 movies before, actually.
So she's in 3 movies?
I think she's in... No, she's in Fallout. I think she starts in Fallout, actually. I'll double check. I can look that up. Maybe Rogue Nation?
No, I don't think she's in Rogue Nation.
She's in Rogue Nation.
She is?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Nope. Wrong.
Wrong.
No, Vanessa Kirby is
Wrong.
in Fallout, I'm pretty sure. I think that's where she starts. Let me double check. Yeah.
Fallout. Yeah, Vanessa Kirby.
There she is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. It's all starting to like slowly come back to me. Fallout's fucking awesome.
Oh, it's great.
And yeah, Dead Reckoning's good, but yeah, coming off of Fallout, you're like, man, yeah. Okay,
It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, so I agree. 4.5 bottle cap sounds pretty good for Dead Reckoning.
Yes.
Because I do think that like they improved.
Oh yeah.
Like it's so to
I want to at the end of this review, I do want to get into the entire series as a whole.
Yeah.
Because this will be the end for who knows how long. They'll probably bring it back.
Yeah.
But at least for now, this is the end of Mission Impossible. So
It's
we
so
can have
easy to just be like, just to make a Mission Impossible movie and just be like Mission Impossible or IMF, a Mission Impossible movie.
Don't give them ideas. I see a TV show. I mean, Mission Impossible started as a TV show. Let's be clear.
Yeah. So it can always just go back, Amazon can make an IMF
Oh yeah,
movie.
Mission of the Week.
All right.
Okay, so moving on to the Final Reckoning.
The Final Reckoning.
For some reason, the only synopses I found on the Final Reckoning are either way too long or way too short. So we're gonna go short. It is as follows. Ethan Hunt and the IMF team race against time to find the entity, a rogue artificial intelligence that can destroy mankind.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
That's all they got. So yeah, I mean, basically, most of the entire cast that was in the last one comes back, unless they died. So, you know, we have Haley Atwell back, Ving Rhames back, Simon Pegg back, Issei Morales, Palm Clementif, Henry Czerny, which was a callback from the original Mission Impossible, Angela Bassett, like you said, and a bunch of other players. Nick Offerman out of the blue.
Yeah, that was a weird one.
Yeah.
That was really strange.
Yeah.
I like Nick Offerman, but like that was really weird.
A little distracting.
There was a couple of things. There was just a couple of little things where you're like, that was an interesting choice there.
Yeah.
That was definitely one of them. We're like, why cast him? But then like the rest of like the brain trust for the president
Yeah.
is filled with like small time actors or
Sure.
a bunch of that guys.
Yeah.
And then Nick Offerman walks in and you're like, he has to be more important.
Yeah.
And then he ends up being
Sure. Yeah, he does.
but I think they cast him solely for the purpose of sacrificing him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was really strange. Because if you kill one of the other guys, it should have been Kittredge, man.
Oh, yeah.
It should have been Kittredge who saves the president
Yeah.
and dies. It doesn't make sense that it's just some random general.
That we just meet now.
And we don't really even care for his
doesn't-
motivations.
He doesn't really do anything. Like, there's a moment where it's like, oh, is he going to turn on the president?
Yeah.
And no, he doesn't. And it's like, okay, well, fine.
Yeah, it was just a funny little.
Who cares?
You know, misdirect. A little. What do they call that? A red herring.
Yeah.
Have him ask for the gun
Sure.
just for him to use it. Like, okay, so why did he ask for the gun?
Maybe he was thinking about turning on the president, but decided not to.
Yeah, so that's weird.
A little plot hole.
Or did he
yeah.
know that there was some kind of
Some plot afoot? Yeah, he didn't trust the other guys.
Yeah, that I didn't.
Weird.
I didn't
Little
really
weird.
care for that, and I love Nick Offerman.
Oh yeah, he's great. I mean, he was good. He was good in the role. I mean, it works for him, obviously, but just kind of a. I think my problem's more with the character. If it is going to be Nick Offerman, you know.
Yeah, just give him more to do.
Yeah.
Why couldn't he be like the vice president? You know, something like he's just some random general who, by the way, they've been doing this thing since the last movie, right? They've been sitting around having these talks and stuff and deliberating on the future of the IMF
Yes.
and like what Ethan Hunt's doing while he's gallivanting around the
I
world.
think Carrie Elwes was in the last one.
He's
doing
a part of it. Which, by the way, he could have just slot him in as the Issei Morales role.
Oh yeah.
Just have him be Gabriel.
Yeah.
And now you've got an actor with charm, with gravitas, with experience, a
Yeah.
guy who people know.
Yeah.
Neither here nor there.
Yep.
But yeah, you bring Nick Offerman in the next. It's like, what did this guy just get promoted? Like, why didn't
Never
we need,
seen him before.
Did we not need a 5-star general in these conversations before?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was weird. It was weird. Didn't take me out of the movie necessarily, but I did have to like do a double take and be like, fucking Nick Offerman?
Yeah.
Because I saw him on Fallon or Kimmel or something, and he was talking about this movie, so I knew he was in it.
Sure.
But then when he shows up, I'm like, well, that's such a random way to have him in this.
It was one of those moments where you hear the audience kind of go, "Is that Nick Offerman? It's Nick Offerman." Yeah. So kind of weird, but whatever. Hannah Waddingham as the rear admiral.
I don't know who that is.
The
lady from Ted Lasso.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I mean, that's the thing. It's like this movie's kind of filled with people that you're like, ah,
Yeah, a bunch of that guys. By the way, terrible American accent.
oh yeah, she's
Terrible.
Bad
Just
at it. Bad
man,
at it.
she needed to use every inch of her mouth to get those words out.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it was. I mean, you know, you gotta.
You tried.
It's funny that like British people and like British. Not, I shouldn't say British actors because I don't know if they think that the American accent is easy, but British people really think that the American accent is easy, and they're always shitting on American actors when they do British accents, and we don't ever give it back to them. And I'm just like, guys, your actors. We talked about this. There's only a handful of actors and actresses that can really pull off an American accent because they think that we all talk like they have one standard, and not to say that that's not the same for us. We all think that they have one standard voice too.
Usually Cockney.
Yeah. So we nobody's going to know, a dumb American such as myself. It's not going to know the difference between like a posh accent, a Liverpool accent, a northern accent, a southern accent, all that stuff. And I think the same goes for British people. I think that they think that they can just come in and not do their accent, and therefore it is now an American accent. And it's like, where the fuck was she from?
Yeah.
What part of the United States was she from?
Good question.
Nobody fucking knows.
She's from the ocean. They just found her in the Atlantic.
Ocean. Yeah.
Just
right off the coast.
I think notably, we have, and help me with this name. Is it Trammell or is it Trammell Tillman as Captain Bledsoe?
Oh, I don't.
Trammell, he is awesome in the movie. I think a very much a standout in the casting.
Yeah, him
and the really entire crew of the submarine, lights out. Great big entire
laughs.
Sequence.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Who's the girl who he has more screen time with out of the sailors? Because she's been in other stuff.
Katie O'Brien is her name, I believe.
What else was she in? She was in something big.
She was in the that recent indie movie. I forget if it's A24 or not, but the one about the female bodybuilders.
Oh, yeah.
She was the lead.
Yeah,
other than,
okay.
What's her face?
Maybe that's where I know her from. I know she's been in other stuff.
I mean, that was her, like, breakout role.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But, yeah, lots of people. Another person they brought back is Rolf Saxon as William Dunlow, who you remember from the very first Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah.
He got his own poster and everything.
Yeah. They they pulled the Fast and the Furious thing.
They did.
Just like grabbing some random guy.
Remember that guy?
Yeah.
He's back.
He's back.
He's going to be really important.
And he's really important.
Yeah. Vital.
Couldn't be more important.
And super not angry at Ethan for sending him to Alaska.
I did think that I saw somebody say, like, it is kind of lovely that while Ethan is making all of these decisions about saving the world, essentially, and like he always has to second guess if what he's doing is right and if he should even be the one to make these decisions and stuff, and like all of the fallout, no pun intended, of the decisions that he makes, that they finally put a character in the movie that's like, hey man, it's all right.
Yeah.
Like,
you did good.
It's okay. Like,
you did good.
Actually, like what you did improved my life, actually.
Right.
And I don't want you to ever think that,
Yeah. And, it had been a while, obviously, since I'd seen the first Mission Impossible movie, but I had seen a clip from it when Kittredge says, send that guy to Alaska, like, tomorrow.
Oh, for real?
It's a direct callback to when he's like, yeah, I got in trouble. They sent me to Alaska literally the next day.
That's so funny. That's so funny that they wrote this movie around that, because, like, all right, basically they had to go, how do we get there?
Yeah.
So we have to place the submarine close enough to where he's going to matter.
Yeah.
And if somebody does their research, they can go, well, he is in Alaska. They did make him go there.
Sure.
They have a line and everything.
I mean, at the time when you see it, it's like, he doesn't mean that. He means like, he's getting demoted and sent somewhere he doesn't want to be.
Right. But then they were like, no, literally.
Literally Alaska.
That is literally, he made that split decision to send an agent to Alaska right then and there.
Yeah.
I also thought it was cute, but also a little forced that he held on to the knife.
Yeah.
Like, there's no shot he even gets his hand on that. That is very clearly evidence.
Yeah. That'd be locked up somewhere.
Just on him.
Yeah.
And
Jean Reno's knife.
Like,
God.
come on.
Yeah,
But that was funny.
it was. And I agree.
Okay,
Yeah.
so essentially, this movie, more so than really all of them, is, I think, a lot of fun.
yeah,
But I also think it's the one movie in the series that is really going. We're just gonna balls to the wall. Just do this. This is just gonna be a good time.
yeah,
Because the other movies, the stakes, and again, this is going back to what I was saying about the stakes and how unrealistic they really were. Because this being the last movie, there's no way that they're just not gonna end it with nuclear fallout. You know what I'm saying? It's not gonna end in a nuclear war, right?
sure.
So we know that he's gonna save the day. So you basically put that in the back of your mind, and you go, I guess it's for me personally, you go, okay, are they going to kill Tom Cruise off or not? Because that's really the big question.
Sure.
Do they kill him off in this movie? It's the end. It's the last movie. Are they going to pull a Daniel Craig James Bond and kill him in the end, or what have you? Are they going to go with like the full-on, upswing, happy ending kind of deal, right? And as the movie's going on, you're going, well, this is just a thrill ride. This is just a roller coaster ride. We're all going to have some fun. Some people may die along the way.
Yeah.
But they're not going to be like super important characters, really. Or they're going to be characters that have like made their ultimate sacrifice and need to go.
Sure.
And so the movie just becomes this thing of, I feel like I watch this with the same lens that I watch a lot of the Fast and the Furious movies, which is, I'm not going to be upset about the dumb stuff that happens in this movie so long as it serves the funness of the movie.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where, say, Fast X failed, it was no longer fun, and it was just really, really dumb.
Yeah. Yeah.
This movie was kind of dumb, but it was so much fun that you just go, I'm not gonna like spend too much time being upset about the knife or the Alaska thing.
Well, there's no time to really think about it because you're on to the next thrill ride.
That's true. They move really fast.
Yeah.
2.5 hours went by unbelievably fast.
I agree.
I couldn't believe how quickly we got through that movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I at no point was I like checking my watch. And I think that is why a lot of early reviews were kind of like, the first half kind of sucks, and then it gets better, and then like the last half is like action packed and awesome. I think a lot of people, their eyes glaze over. First of all, because they're not real fans.
Yeah, a bunch of posers, bro.
They're not real impossible heads.
No, not like us.
No. So I agree. Like you said in the theater, this is going really quick. in the first like 15 minutes, we're jumping to like 5 countries.
They move so fast.
Yeah, and I agree. And it does. And also, not to mention, like, there again is this like last time on Mission Impossible kind of situation where they show clips literally from the very beginning of the franchise.
Yeah.
Just to get you up to speed again and be like, oh, yeah, I remember that. All on purpose, all for a reason. I think this movie is essentially a celebration of the entire franchise. Does it suffer as a movie for it? A little bit, maybe. It's very indulgent. Did it bother me as a fan of the series? Absolutely not. Now, I do agree that the first, I'd say quarter, first third maybe, it is a lot of quick setup that you can miss if you're not paying attention, and may not be for everyone. It is definitely a bit slower as far as the action goes. But boy, howdy, when it gets going.
Oh, it gets going. Man, there is some shit in this
Kidding me?
movie.
I also wanted to say, too, we forgot to mention in Dead Reckoning, the sort of big tragedy of it all is that Ilsa dies. So,
Yeah.
Rebecca Ferguson. She is not back, but have you seen the theories
Oh, shit.
on her?
Well, how they're going to bring her back? That she's the entity?
No.
No. I have not seen
What a twist!
What are the theories?
The theory is that if you see in the very end of this film when the whole team is reunited in the way that they do in Mission Impossible movies, where they all kind of see each other from afar in this, European nondescript town square.
Yeah.
And they all just kind of like, give a little head nod to each other.
Yeah, the Ocean's 11 thing.
Yes, exactly. When Ethan walks away, he walks in tandem right next to this woman who quite literally has the same hair as Ilsa. And people are speculating that he's walking away with her and she actually survived.
Interesting.
Yes. And they showed a side-by-side. At first I'm like, oh, BS.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here? Are you serious? But then I saw the side-by-side and literally the same hairstyle.
But you only see the back of her head.
The back of her head.
Okay.
Literally the same hairstyle, literally the same hair color. And they do walk like right next to each other when everyone else is like kind of crossing paths.
Okay, I got to see that.
It's interesting. I'm not saying I 100% buy it, but I
well,
buy
yeah,
it.
we like saw her die, right?
Yeah,
we like see her get.
She died.
Yeah,
She got stabbed or something.
Yeah, there was like a whole fight scene and like
Yeah.
yeah. Then he like leaves her body, doesn't
Yes.
he? Like to chase down the So
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, it's one of those things where like who knows? They could do that. I am so numb to the idea of remember Glub Shitto? Because now I remember I saw the meme again. That's the name.
Glub Shitto, right?
Yeah. And it's like, well, he's back now. And it's like
what did I say? Shit Glipto or something?
Yeah. And the dude that they bring back from the first one is a quintessential Glub Shitto.
Absolutely.
And it's fine. It's not. I think
it's nice though. They do more with him than just be like, remember that guy?
Yeah.
They build his character out more.
Yeah.
It's nice.
And
It's good.
I think the Fast movies are so guilty of it, and obviously this meme comes from Star Wars, and they're super guilty of it. And when you don't do it the right way, there's no payoff.
Yeah.
So bringing this guy back and having him essentially, be the not guardian angel, but like the angel on Ethan's shoulder, letting him know like this, you're making good decisions.
The last guy you'd expect to feel that way about Ethan,
right?
Who's been burned by him in the past.
And this is the guy that like turned everything, kind of was like, listen, man, I have to appreciate the decisions that were made and like how we got here, and I need you to do the same thing. I need you to understand, just what you're doing for the world, and I can be a hyper local example of you do like the decisions that you make lead to good things.
Yeah.
And so that's a good use of that trope.
Mm-hmm. Well, they talk so much in this movie about, the people that you do save will never know. It's not about that. It's about doing the right thing and making the sacrifices and doing what needs to be done because nobody else is up to that task. Mission Impossible, But I think he stands as the character that is somebody that directly benefited, accidentally, certainly, but did benefit from what Ethan does.
I do think you need something. I think the characters need that, and I think the audience kind of needs to know, like unless you want it to be a tragedy, really, that he has to continue just living his life, hoping that he's doing the right thing, and just being filled with such like self-doubt and everything. Like, you do have to give him a little. You have to throw him a bone a little bit.
Sure. I mean, after all this, he deserves peace.
Yeah. I'm thinking of Men in Black 2, which is not like a great movie.
Classic.
But
cinema classic.
But here's the thing. Men in Black 1 is a cinema classic.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
So you go to Men in Black 2, and they make a lot of boneheaded decisions. But the one thing that they do well... That's two boneheaded decisions.
Yeah.
The one thing that they do well is I think that they use Rosario Dawson's character to show J and K that like you are affecting a change in the world and in a person, just one person's life. Like you
Real
did
people.
something, like you saved this person's life, and they know it. They know it. They don't. You're not in the shadows with them.
Yeah.
They appreciate and they sign it. And I think like it informs the audience and informs the characters that like it's worth it.
Yeah.
These sacrifices that you're making are worth it because you saved somebody. Sure. So not a good movie, but at least that I think that was a good decision.
Sure.
In that movie, and I think that it's always a good decision to do that in these instances.
Yeah.
So, a good gloop shitto.
Yes.
I
Yes.
guess.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like the Batman thing, right? It's like, they're never going to thank you for your job.
Right. Right.
But you got to do it.
Yeah.
No one else is going to do it.
Right.
You got to do it.
Yeah. And he's not like, they're not looking for that. They're not looking for the appreciation, but it does breed some self-doubt and what is this all for? And
questioning why am I doing this to myself?
Yeah.
Why
And
am I going through all this?
The sacrifices that he's made and all of the loss that Ethan Hunt has throughout the series. I mean, he could have had just a normal life, and that was taken from him.
He tried to, yeah.
And then he tried again.
Yeah.
And that got taken from him.
Yep.
And then they were just like, he's not gonna go 0 for 3 with Haley Atwell, right? That one.
No.
I did think that it was weird that they kind of were like it was like a will they won't they thing.
Yeah.
In the middle of everything that's going on, they're also like, by the way, there's some static electricity here. There's a little, I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought that in the end they were gonna leave together, and when she walks away, I was like, oh, bummer. I don't like that. I wanted a little romance.
I kind of appreciate. Look, I was a little torn up about it myself because I wasn't sure how I wanted that to work out, because obviously, yes, they do lean into there being something there between those two characters. At the same time, for us as the audience, we just lost Ilsa,
right?
Who was like the woman for Ethan.
Right.
She got it. She was right there with him, just as capable. Not to say that Haley Atwell wasn't, but they just kind of they worked.
understood each other.
Yes,
more
they
than I
worked.
think he has a love interest that's understood him.
Yeah. And so I think it would have been a little confusing emotionally to see that kind of be passed over so quickly.
Yeah.
But the fact that they did lean into it a little bit was a little confusing, because it's like, if they aren't going to, then don't play with it.
Right. Don't play with your food now.
Right.
If you
make it
do
platonic and make them a team, and like that's cool or whatever. But don't kind of tease at something you're not going to pay off eventually.
Yeah. Because like when for instance when she saves him with the chamber, right? She pulls him out of the ice.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get to the stunts, but she
Yeah.
pulls him out, and now they're like laying in this bed together.
Yeah.
And the native woman, she's
Yes.
like, she's looking at them, and she's like, "Oh, this is adorable." And like this whole moment is really cute. That was definitely a moment that in at least one draft of that script they kiss.
Yeah.
And then they go in the other direction, and you're kind of like, it's just never paid off. So it's really weird for them to kind of lean into it.
Yeah.
A will they, won't they works throughout the throughout the whole thing. If you're gonna kind of, because the other thing is they don't even acknowledge the won't they part, because they never
There's
have
no
a moment
conflict,
where
really. Yeah.
like there should have been at least one moment where he's like, I can't.
Yeah.
I've tried, and it just feels like every time it never goes well, and I now know that at the expense of my own happiness, I am an IMF agent, and the world depends on me to be untethered from this kind of thing.
Which is what it was at the end of 4 or 3.
Yeah,
No,
after
four.
4, because that's when he gets to see his wife again.
Yeah.
We acknowledge that like he's never gonna be able to have a normal life.
Yeah.
But then they throw us Rebecca Ferguson, and you're like, well, maybe he could have a life with this person.
But that's why, it makes so much more sense with Ilsa, because she is so capable.
Are you saying that they shouldn't have killed her off? Is that what you're
I'm
trying
absolutely
is what
saying
you're
that.
Oh.
And I think they did that because obviously she wanted to do other things as an actor.
How dare she?
I know.
There is nothing else.
Just do one more. Come on.
Just one more.
One more. But yeah, I just think that was the right character for Ethan to end up with, because he didn't have to worry with her.
Yeah.
Like she's literally an assassin.
Right.
She's so good at what she does. She lives that life. She's a part of it.
Yeah.
And even though Haley Atwell is a pickpocket, like that's cool, and like obviously she can hang. It's not the same.
Yeah, I do think that her inclusion, I think she's fantastic.
Yeah, she's great.
I think she's so good in the movie. I think she's so charming. I think, I think she's great. So I do like her in the movie. But I do find it funny that, again, it was a very fast movie thing to bring in this person who essentially is a really good thief.
Yeah.
And make her a secret agent.
Yes.
Like, what other qualifications does she have?
It ended up
outside of
saving the
being-
world.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, it feels like it was very like okay, sure.
This will pay off. Don't worry. We need
You're
a
like,
sleight of hand artist.
Okay, yeah,
make this work.
yeah, exactly. And they did. That's exactly what they did. Like right at the end, they were like, all of this shit,
Yeah.
and now makes sense because she's super fast with her hands. I
Yep.
guess she could have been a magician.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
didn't have to be a thief.
No.
She could have been anybody. Or nobody, rather.
Or nobody. Yeah. So, I mean, I think we should say the big death of this movie is Ving Rhames' Luther.
Yeah.
Who'd been along for the ride since part 1. Sad. I thought it worked. I thought the scene worked. And
Yeah, his... I got a little choked up in his monologue in the end.
oh, yeah. That was great.
Yeah, I think he's... I mean, I don't know if Ving Rhames just doesn't want to do as many movies, but he should be in more movies. He had his big 90s run, his early 2000s run, and then just kind of hasn't done much.
It seems to me that he just was wanting to do these because of Tom.
Yeah.
And was just like, yeah, I'll show up for
He
it.
feels semi-retired.
Yeah.
And I pray that he's just not getting jobs because people aren't putting Ving Rhames and stuff because he's awesome.
Yeah.
And even in the small amount of time that he's in this movie, I mean, it's clear that he's going to be the one to get it.
Sure.
But-
He's already dying in
Yeah.
the movie.
Yeah.
So it was very clear that he was the one that's going to go.
And Tom got to throw some acting chops out there a little bit, and you're like, there he is. There's Magnolia.
Uh-huh.
You know?
Or on the
Like,
4th of July.
He still got it. Don't let these fucking running scenes fool you.
Yep.
The man still got it. And I thought that was great. I thought their dynamic's fantastic. They have a lot of chemistry.
Of course.
And I think that really paid off well. Very sad. Yeah, I thought that was good. But again, if Gabriel was a scarier or more capable villain, even that was just kind of like, well, fuck him, because he locked him up. He locked up a dying man and made this guy like dismantle a bomb. Like, it didn't feel as sinister, you know? He just doesn't come off that scary.
Kill that nurse.
Yeah, but even that was just kind of like
Yeah.
like he just creeps up from and even that just didn't feel like I don't know. He just doesn't have it, man.
No.
I think that actor Issa Morales,
Yeah.
I think he actually would work better as either on the side of the IMF. I think he's very charming. I think he's a good actor.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he does a poor job. I think he does a serviceable job. But I think that the villain at the end of the Mission Impossible series should have been someone like, I mean, if you're going Latino, for instance, like Antonio Banderas would have been great. I think, you got to have somebody like big and important and somebody who can really handle the gravity of the situation.
Well, I mean,
somebody who can monologue like a motherfucker too,
I think
you know?
I think the gravitas is what was missing, like
Yeah.
you said. I think there just wasn't that, like, I don't know, either a bass to the voice or a imposition, a physical imposition.
Yeah.
Something that made you go, oh, this is like the big bad. This
Yeah.
is the one.
Yeah.
None of that.
No.
None of that. He was a pawn at first, and then he said, I made a mistake. I'm going to try to take this over, actually.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of, I don't know, sneaky and...
And even that, like, I wish at some point, like, he did get control of the entity or something to kind of, because at no point is he scary, or rather, at no point does he seem like a threat.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why, like, if
He's got some goons. That's about it.
yeah. And even those guys, he needed at least a goon that was that was like, oh, that guy, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like something.
Yeah.
Because
He
in the
needed
last movie,
a new Palm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He had Palm in the last movie.
Yes.
And when she shows up, you're like, oh, sick. She's good.
Yeah.
And she's great. They bring her back, and she's good in this one too. Although the team was a little random this time around, I thought.
A little more patchwork, yeah.
Yeah, a little. The dude from Top Gun,
Yes.
bringing him back in and then making him a part of the team, I thought was. I just felt like I don't know about that one.
Well, and as I was commenting on how good the cast was for the team in the last film and plenty of the others, I remembered there's been this meme going around saying like, what does this guy bring to the team? and of course, like, people are jokingly saying like, I mean, beauty? What do you mean? It's a very handsome man.
Very handsome.
He's capable. He does stuff. What do you want?
Yeah, he's a soldier. Like, it makes sense for him to be a part of the team. It just doesn't really make sense in the context of this being like the final movie. Like, if he was around for a couple of movies,
Yes.
and I saw a lot of people saying like the reason he's in this is because Jeremy Renner for some reason won't come back.
Yeah.
That character is Brandt.
Yeah.
That is the
Yeah,
Jeremy Jeremy Renner character. And I don't know if it's like a beef between him and Tom Cruise.
That's what it seems like.
It does feel like a
'Cause he
personal
should've-
thing.
he should've been there.
been in the movie. He should have. It should have been him. It should have been him. It should have been when they're breaking her out.
Yeah.
When they take the masks off, the reveal should have been Jeremy Renner's back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that would have been awesome. And then it would have made a lot of sense. And then, like, so talking about him, getting to, like, jumping to the end or close to the end, when they're dismantling the bomb in the.
Yeah.
Why does he sacrifice
I
himself?
don't know. as soon as you're like, what? I was like, yeah, I agree. Because he literally says, well, I can't do anything in there. When they're all going to go into the...
Sure you can. You can survive in
You
there.
cannot die.
You can protect them in there. Benji at this point had been shot.
Shot, yeah.
So he can't protect them.
His lung is literally deflating as we speak.
Palm Paris is protecting him. So you're definitely needed in there. You could protect Haley Atwell's
Absolutely.
character while she's doing the fucking
Yeah,
bait
the
and switch,
switcheroo.
the little Indiana Jones thing.
Yes.
When he's like, I'm useless, so I'm gonna die. I was like,
die.
bro, you gotta be like 29, 30
was
years
gonna
old.
say.
There's no... That I would have been like, what's going on with you, man? Like,
you okay?
mentally, do you need to talk to somebody?
Are you checking out?
Yeah,
You don't wanna-
what's this about? Because this seems less like a sacrifice and more like suicide.
Right.
It seems like you have no will to live.
And it's such an easy like switch where you just have him say like, no, I need to defend them just in case like more of these goons come back.
Right.
And say like, I will protect them. Don't worry.
I thought it was so strange for him to say, I'm not needed in there. I can't do anything in there. So I'm just going to stand around out here.
Maybe that's what he meant. Is like, I can't do anything in there to help.
We really needed it to be clear
Something
that like
else.
I needed
Something
like
else.
it should the
ADR
threat,
it in before the DVD comes out and just say something.
Yeah, so we can stop because that really. I mean, the moment he did, I looked at you and I was like,
Why?
that was so, why would he do that?
Yeah.
There's such a strange, and I thought at some point it was gonna pay off. I thought like some soldier was gonna come running down the hallway that he had to protect them from or something like that.
No, he stands around. He listens to what they say. It does turn out that they had three things they had to cut at the same time.
Right.
Or
So
something. It's
he
like, all right,
did
cool.
literally need to be there.
But they didn't know that ahead of time.
No, they didn't know
if
that.
If they knew that ahead of time, it would have made more sense. At least.
And then when they find out that they have 10 seconds to make it from there to the bunker.
Yeah.
Okay. He goes, "Do you think you can make it?" And he's like, "I guess there's only one way to find out,
Yeah.
right?" He says to the old guy. And then when they do make it, because they're
they're
not
just there. Yeah.
they're there, and then he comes out. It's just them first, him and his wife.
Yeah.
And the implication is that he sacrificed himself so that they could make it.
Yeah, that would make more dramatic sense. He, like, push them in right the last second.
Nope.
No.
He just comes out right after them.
Dusty.
He's just like,
Hey.
I'm here too. Now I have to go to therapy because I was ready to throw it all away.
Yep.
And I had no other reason to do that. So now I have the rest of my life to live, and I need to answer those questions. Why did I do that?
Figure out what's going on.
Yeah, I thought that was that whole thing. I was like, really, like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, that was silly.
Very
that was
silly.
very silly.
Very silly.
Fortunately, soon thereafter, we get so much action. Oh, so before.
Right. So shall we just talk about each big action set piece?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
The first big one, because you're right. I mean, and the people who were criticizing the movie for being slow in the first half and then really picking up in the second half, they're right. It's a lot of exposition in the beginning.
Yeah. Info dump.
And then once you kind of get everybody up to speed, then it really goes. It just it goes and goes and goes.
Yeah.
Goes and it goes and it goes. The first one is he jumps out of the plane, right?
Yeah.
And into...
He gets rescued by the submarine people.
Right. So that's the first big thing
Yeah.
that gets us into this kind of life or death.
There's jets buzzing the Ospreys.
Yeah.
They have to dump them there because they don't have enough fuel to get back if they don't dump them right there and then.
Right. And they're like,
They're
showing us their rockets.
Yeah, there's no sign of
Their
the submarine that he was hoping to connect with.
Yeah.
But he just dumps out.
Faith.
Yeah.
Faith alone.
In the Bering Sea or something.
You're going to get a lot of this.
Freezing.
A lot of stuff alluding to just faith.
Yeah.
Just blind faith in the team, blind faith in Ethan, blind faith. Just blind faith.
I mean, his ability is sacrifice. He doesn't care. There's no plan for him to do this plan without essentially dying. He has to die for this plan to work.
And it feels like every step of the way, it's like either this plan is going to work or I'm going to die.
Yeah.
There's no other way that any of this can go.
Yeah.
So when he jumps out of the plane, it's like, even Bledsoe was like, you did that.
You're super
You didn't
lucky.
know that we were going to be there.
Yeah.
You just had to believe, basically. You
Yeah.
just had to believe that we were going to pick you up and bring you in.
Yeah.
Because he was like, what were we going to do if we weren't out there?
Die, I guess.
Yeah. And then it keeps happening over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So he convinces everyone, because he's TC, that he's like, this is the plan and it needs to go this way. And they're like, God damn it, let's do it. And that's
What does he keep telling him or calling him?
Mr.
Mister. It was Mister.
Yeah, he keeps calling him Mister. I thought that was really weird too. Is that a military thing that I'm not aware of?
No, but I actually loved it. I thought it was a perfect little touch for his character, just to say, Mister.
He's like, if you want to take it to the Russians, or if you want to something where he
Yeah.
was like, fuck them. He's like, you came to the right, you got on the right boat, and
Yeah.
that's when you can. There was a murmur in the actual real life crowd of like, hell yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
So everyone was juiced up on that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So the first like real stunt though is the scene. No. He has the fight.
dive.
No, well, so he has the
right.
fight scene first.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
the
right.
fight scene in his underwear.
Yes.
Where he's like,
After he's running on a treadmill.
yeah, he's like, you guys are gonna check out this 60-year-old body because
Yes,
I worked
absolutely.
way too hard for you guys not to acknowledge how good I look and how fast I still am.
I did not have a single cake for the past 10 years.
No, I guess we should also say that it's not a stunt, but they got the running scene out of the way early.
Oh yeah, he's running so much.
He runs on the bridge and he like really books it.
Oh yeah.
And I saw the behind the scenes clip of them being like, all right, ready. TC's going to take off running. And this is the run. Here we go. And he's like getting his arms ready to go. And he like cocks them. He's just pulls the Henry Cavill. He's like,
Yeah, get some pumps in.
yeah. And then they yell action. And that man just off the line. And it's been said before, but there's no better runner in movie history than Tom Cruise.
You didn't see this, but when we separated ways on the way to our cars, I did the Tom Cruise run.
He just took off running. I should have done. I was so tired.
Yeah.
I was exhausted. So he does the run. So we
There's-
get that out of the way.
And during the submarine fight scene, is there not a B plot fight scene happening at the same time? I forget.
Yeah, there is. There is because they keep cutting back and forth, and they make like really cool decisions there. Between the they get to the guy's house, and the
Yes.
Russians meet them there,
Right.
and
Right.
they basically they fight there. So it's Palm and the two soldiers, or
Yeah.
the soldier and Benji, not Benny,
Benji, yeah.
fighting. At the same time, TC is taking on this rogue agent that comes to kill him.
Right.
Because that was the other thing. That was the C plot that they don't really do much with outside of there was a couple of assassination attempts, but there's the C plot of these children of the atom
Yeah, these
have
zealots.
infiltrated every single branch of the military and government.
Yeah.
And so
There's like a cult of the AI, essentially.
So kind of, I guess, going back to the Nick Offerman casting, they imply that he's one of them.
Yeah.
And then don't pay that off. I guess pay it off in the other direction.
By doing a red herring thing where it's
Yeah.
actually the other guy and he saves the day, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. But there's no one important who is a it's just kind of
Yeah.
a throwaway thing that happens that basically gets you a couple of fight scenes. That's essentially all you get from
Sure.
that C plot.
And
that's
the
happening.
opening scene of Ethan walking out with all the protesters around.
Right.
Yada, yada,
Right.
yada.
That was a cool scene.
And them sort of talking about, like, would it be better if we let the AI kind of take over or, like, have somebody control the AI?
Yeah.
Because then we can kind of reset the world because it seems really messed up right now.
Right. And that's the whole thing with, like, they also keep saying that if you take it offline, it will destroy cyberspace, which, like, I don't understand that at
Like,
all.
you take down the internet as a whole?
Cyberspace. They just kept saying cyberspace. So I guess the entity had affected the entirety of,
The internet.
and so
It took over the internet. It started replacing, like, headlines and footage.
right. Yeah, I
It
got that
changed
part.
the narrative of news and
Yeah,
yada, yada, yada.
but are you so? I guess what I'm saying or what I'm thinking is, if the entity has already taken over the entirety of cyberspace, then how do you trust any technology? How do the submarines not just like drop to the bottom of the ocean? How do the planes not already fall out of the sky? Like,
I think they mentioned that that specific sub was offline, like not connected to the internet.
Oh, right. And then it would have to come up to
get the radio signals because it was
Right.
still using radio signals. It was
Right.
super secure.
Right.
And so was the big Russian sub as well.
Okay, all right.
Those were the two like best
Dude,
subs.
okay. Yeah. All right. That makes sense for that. Still doesn't really make sense for like all of the planes fighting, all of the technology that's still used throughout the movie.
Yeah, I think they tried their best to avoid using anything that would be online because I was kind of keeping track of that too.
I guess that's why everybody kept getting like literal notes throughout the movie.
Yeah. Yes. Notes, Morse code, obviously
I guess maybe do they use phones? Maybe
I don't think they do.
Yeah, maybe they don't.
Other than the landline ones that they have like in the super secure presidential office.
Right. Okay. All right.
In
All
that
right.
bunker.
All right. Hold on. Maybe we'll go a little far with that one. I'll take that one back because I have to watch it again with a keener eye on
and I would
how
say
technology is being used.
any plot hole you find is probably excusable by saying like the entity's allowing them to do that for X, Y, or Z reason.
That was another thing that they kept doing where it was like the entity wants you to do that.
It's like, you sure about that, Ethan? Is that your excuse for everything?
Is that what you're just going to do for everything? And you know what? It worked.
Yeah.
Every time he said it, they were like,
This is exactly what the entity wants.
hey, you know what? Maybe he's right. Maybe that is what the entity wants. Maybe I'll trust this guy because I can't, not going to trust AI.
Sure.
That's the whole thing. This whole movie is like, just don't trust AI.
Yeah.
And I'm here for it. I'm here for the lessons of let us continue doing cool shit as human beings and don't trust AI.
Yeah. I think it may be the one ethical standing that Tom Cruise may have.
Yeah. So you get the cool fight scene in his
Yes.
underwear,
Yes.
and then you get to
He gets suited up.
he gets suited, and it's the first big real stunt, because this was a real stunt.
Yeah. Take care of my suit.
He said that the suit was like 150 pounds.
Yeah. Look like it.
And he could only do like 10 minutes per scene. He had to keep like taking the suit off.
Yeah.
Like he was getting like hypoxic and everything. Like it
Yeah.
was very unhealthy scene.
And he was blind, essentially, because the light was just shooting in his face.
Excuse me. So that's the first one. And you're like, again, and dude, this movie really shows you like how much practical effects still matter
Absolutely.
in this day and age, man.
Yeah.
Because it looks scary. There's moments like when the movie goes silent for like 15 minutes.
And that's completely on purpose. A lot of people are speculating that was totally on purpose to make it essentially a silent film for any of the major action sequences.
And it worked like a charm.
Absolutely.
It works perfectly.
I stopped breathing multiple times.
Yeah, dude. Yes. I was like, and again, like, I know because you've seen enough movies, you know that this movie is not going to end with a nuclear war, right? But even still, you're halfway through it and you're like, are they going to kill him halfway through this movie? Is this going to be are they going to hand it off to the rest of this cast? Are they
Yeah.
going to make that dramatic decision? Because there were moments where I was like, he might not make it out of
He's
here.
going to die.
He's going to die here.
I wasn't so afraid that he would die like midway through the movie. I was more so afraid, like in a weird way, and this makes no sense, obviously, but in a weird way, I was worried for him as a character, like what he was putting his body through.
Yeah.
And the fact that, like, again, the entire plan for him in this submarine mission was that he knew he couldn't make it up in time to not suffer some major consequence, whether it was the bends, whether it was him literally dying and needed being resuscitated immediately
Yeah.
because of the cold. He knew there was no way out of this without dire consequences,
Right.
including part of the plan being he could die, and that's just part of the plan.
Yeah.
You know, and hearing that, I was like, oh man, worried about Ethan.
Yeah.
Is he gonna make it? I don't know. Like, there's no one from the original left to take care of him.
Right.
Closest we got is Benji now. You
Right.
know, like that's all we got. And yeah, it's strange to care about essentially a superhero.
Yeah.
In that way.
Yeah.
But I think he comes from the same cloth as like a Jackie Chan, where you see him fail. You see him get messed up and the plan not go the way that he wanted it to, and having to improvise and, you know, not being this ultimate like badass all the time. And I think that lends a lot to him as a character.
Yeah.
As Ethan as a character. Because, you know, for all intents and purposes, Ethan isn't that complex of a character.
No.
You know, he's a guy, he's a super spy, and he cares about his crew, and that's basically it.
I think that's you know, that's a common criticism of the Ethan Hunt character, is that he's not very interesting as compared to like big secret agents in the past, and like just the trope of that character. He's not really like complex.
Yeah, I would say even in Top Gun, he's more complex.
Yeah.
You know, as this cocky guy, and he's got a chip on his shoulder when he gets older. He doesn't want to retire. You know,
Yeah.
like these things add to the character.
No, I think that Mission Impossible is a series that, as it's gone on, I think Tom Cruise is like, this is going to be the series that, under no certain terms, or uncertain terms rather, like Ethan Hunt and the IMF are good guys, and they are out there to root out the bad guys.
Well, when Ethan's not at odds with the IMF,
but even
when they're not being infiltrated by some outside
and
thing.
even then, it's like he is such a straight and narrow moral compass of Ethan Hunt's the good guy. So even in those movies where they use that thing where like the IMF has been infiltrated and whatnot, you can always still look at Ethan Hunt and go, well, he knows the right thing to do here.
You trust him.
He's the one who's going to do the right thing. He's the good guy. He's always on the right side of this.
Yeah.
So even him being like, well, like the IMF is still a thing. I'm still an agent. And what needs to happen is we need to root out all of these rogue agents
Sure.
who live under this rogue nation.
No.
But you can still look to him and he has the right answers, right?
But it's funny because there's a bit of duality here. Because as an audience, yes, I agree completely. We implicitly trust Ethan and his calls. As insane as they may sound on paper, we trust that he will get it done. He knows how to do it. You'll figure it out. But in the world of Mission Impossible, nobody else in power trusts him. Nobody does.
And you know what, dude? I would argue that is not a plot hole per se. I don't even know what you would call that, but to me, it doesn't make any sense. He's never done anything ever to make these people, unless they were rogue agents who wanted to kill him. The ones who are good guys, like when they bring back Kittredge,
Yeah.
and the president of the United States, and anybody else who's questioned his decision making, it's always like, well, what has he done to earn your suspicion? He's done nothing for the past 25 years but save the world over and over and over again at the expense of his own personal life, at the expense of any relationship he's ever had, platonic or otherwise.
He's only sacrificed
the world for the greater good. So
Yeah.
why would you ever be like, but this time, because it happens in the middle of the series, it happens a couple times where you're like, all right, enough. And that's why I'm really happy that they didn't do that this time around. Because
Well, that's what I was going
like,
to say. This time was the exception, really, because you saw finally everyone, including the president, say, I trust you.
And I'm happy.
what you have to
I'm
do.
happy that they did that because it would just be so fucking exhausting if again they were like, he might take the entity and take over the world. He could be a bad guy. We don't know. It's like, no, stop it. We do. He's proven himself time and time again that he is working for the betterment of the world.
I think that it comes from the classic trope from these, spy movies that there's always somebody within the agency that is a conformist, that is somebody who plays it by the book.
Yeah.
And is usually the foil to that secret agent character, like a Bond.
Yeah.
That is saying, I don't agree with your methods, but I agree with the results.
Yeah.
In this one, it's Kittredge, right? Kittredge has always been the one that's been like, Ethan, stop.
Yeah.
You're putting everyone at risk. The way that you're trying to do that, like, I agree with what you're trying to do. You're doing it the wrong way.
Yeah.
And you're putting too many lives at risk. And damn it, I'm going to take you down.
Yeah.
So I get it. It makes sense. It's fun. Yeah, I like the Kittredge character coming back and, like, again, being that foil to Ethan. Him being this rogue, this one who will come in and do what needs to be done. But then having someone there kind of keeping him in check in a way.
Yeah.
I like
trying
that.
to anyway.
Trying to. He never does, obviously.
No.
But I do like that there is somebody there to keep him, I guess, kind of from getting too big-headed and keeping him in check a little bit.
Well, there's also that one guy at the end who has the gun pointed at him and then turns it around.
Shea Wiggum.
That guy.
As Jasper Briggs / Jim Phelps Jr.
Right, because they did that whole thing. I forgot about that.
Which is one of my favorite things in the entire franchise is that Jim Phelps, if you guys don't know, because I didn't, I'm not that old, the TV show, he's the hero of Mission Impossible. Jim Phelps is the Ethan character.
Oh, so
that's why he's older in
so the
first
show
movie.
is that the first movie is a continuation of the show. It's
Yes.
not
Yeah.
Wow.
So we have this hero that people at the time in the 90s knew if they were our age, and seeing him and being like, he's a big actor, he's probably going to be the hero, and suddenly to be like, oh,
Yeah.
He's the bad guy.
And I guess maybe that sets in motion this entire thing of like, this was the guy who was the hero of this whole story. And you start the first movie with him being the villain.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And then it's like, you can't trust anybody.
Right.
But I think after the third movie, you kind of have to just stop questioning the motives of Ethan Hunt because they're just too pure.
Well, make it more of a logistical thing. Be like, we can't give you all that money to do this thing. Like, there's just no way. We can't put that on paper. You're asking for the impossible.
Yeah.
And play it more that way as opposed to being like, we don't trust your motives.
Or even make him do some morally questionable stuff. Because even at the end of the day, it's like, what does he really do that's so morally objectionable? He jumps out of planes. He crashes stuff. He doesn't kill anybody. He doesn't do anything that, like, even the people that, like, get sacrificed, like you said before, they're always the one who is like, leave me. I can do this. It's never like he never sends someone off to die. He always puts himself in the position where he's like, no, I'll do this. And then the character's like, you get out of here.
Yeah.
You get out of here, man.
Well, the Kittredges of the world will always point to that and be like, well, you put him in that position. You're the leader of this whole thing.
Sure, but even that is... Because I agree, yeah. I mean, from a bureaucratic standpoint, it's like someone's got to get blamed for this.
Sure.
But from the audience standpoint and from the character's standpoint, you have to give me a reason to believe that, like, I shouldn't trust him because everything that he's done in every movie so far has been like, I should trust him.
Yeah,
I've never had a reason not to.
I think it worked when, first of all, it was early on in the series. He hadn't really proven himself. And then I think it worked when we got into the Rogue Nation stuff where it's like IMF has been infiltrated. You can't trust anybody. And they are actively going after the people who are doing the best.
Yeah. Well, I also think it works when you take into account that the IMF is an organization basically of like
miscreants.
Yeah. So when it's basically a suicide squad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
they've done bad things before. He got out of jail.
But the thing is, like,
joining the IMF.
Even that is a play on how good of a man he is because he was falsely accused. He didn't actually do why he's in the IMF. So he's falsely accused of something, and then he spends the rest of his life atoning for something that he didn't even do.
Yeah.
So, like, you couldn't get more altruistic of a character than Ethan Hunt. And then at every turn, like, if I was him, I'd be pissed. Like, dude, fuck you. You're gonna question my loyalty to this nation and to this organization? I've done nothing. I don't even fucking need to be here.
Yeah.
I didn't do the shit that you accused me of. I shouldn't even fucking be here. And the fact that I've spent 2.5 decades
atoning for someone else's sins.
And then you finally get the guy who did it, and it's like he's just some fucking meh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
Okay. So, submarine stunt.
Yes. Back to the stunts. Submarine stunt. After that, we have
just all the swimming in general, going in the submarine, all of that stuff.
The entire sequence.
The missile silo thing.
I mean, even before that, like him just getting out of the submarine, the Russian sub being comically close to the American sub
It was
like so funny.
I know, dude.
It was literally like 20 feet away.
I loved it. It was so good.
Right there.
It was
right
like
behind. They were tailgating.
The thing opens up and it was like a monster. That's right there.
Amazing.
Yeah, I loved it.
Amazing cinema.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. And then he still couldn't grab a hold.
No.
Still almost missed it. Well, did miss it.
Yeah.
Well, missed it on purpose, but I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I at first I was like, is he supposed to be trying to grab that? Because like.
No. He's trying to avoid
crazy.
that. Yeah, he's trying to avoid that submarine. Almost gets his head chopped off.
Yeah.
That was good.
That was awesome.
Good and tense. And then he gets to the submarine wreckage.
Yeah.
Very cool scene, very cool lighting and stuff with the flares.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Oh, yeah. So good.
Very Metal Gear.
Yeah.
He's able to get into that sub that we originally saw crash in Dead Reckoning. And, I'm a little disappointed as a cinema lover that he did not do the Jaws jump scare.
Oh,
they kind of did it a little bit.
A little with the.
But I would have loved one of the Russian Navy men's corpses, just to like the head, just to
Yeah.
I was waiting for it.
Yeah.
I was like, come on, do it, come on.
Yeah.
Didn't quite do it, but he gets into the submarine. He has to open up a airlock that gets water to flow into the ship because he can't get into it otherwise. Because he's trying to get the little power brick or whatever.
It basically looks like an external hard drive.
Yeah, it's doohickey that he needs in order to get the entity.
Yeah.
So he opens up the airlock, and doing so makes the buoyancy shift in the submarine.
Yeah.
And the entire rest of the scene is basically him trying to get that thing while the submarine's actively rolling on this ridge on the sea floor.
That was very cool. Very tense scene.
Very tense.
Like every time that he kind of displaced however how much water was inside the sub, it just kept rolling even more, and you're just like, oh man, is he gonna make it out of here? What is gonna happen?
Very Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
Like you see it just getting closer and closer to the edge. And then he eventually gets the doohickey, and
Just gonna call it the doohickey.
yeah, I mean, who cares? Who cares?
Yeah, right. It doesn't matter.
It's a gizmo.
It's a gizmo.
Yeah,
It's a whatchamacallit.
Yeah, but his only way out at this point, because the door literally gets shoved back in from a torpedo.
Yeah.
He's in a room full of torpedoes, because of course he is.
Yeah.
He has to make his way out of the torpedo hole.
Yeah.
And it's just too small
Yeah.
to get in with the whole suit on. So he has to cut the suit open, push forward the breathing apparatus while holding the mask on, and get his way out through there as the rest of the sub fills up with water, eventually shoots him out of the torpedo hole.
Yeah.
He gets snagged on the ship as it sinks down to the seafloor. And eventually just has to get rid of the mask and everything and just swim as hard as he can.
So now again,
to the
down to
surface.
his skivvies.
Yes, of course.
Swimming, trying to get to the surface.
In freezing water.
So good. And he's so good in that, man.
Yeah.
When he's trying to swim to the surface and like the bends.
And let me tell you, they do such a good job ahead of time explaining exactly what he's going to physically go through.
Right.
So you don't have to guess.
Right.
You understand they're like, your body's going to start shaking uncontrollably. Your blood's going to start boiling in your muscles. You're not going to be able to control them. And we see all that happen physically to him.
And he does such a good job of displaying that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not like it matters, though, because he gets saved.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, too, is like a lot of people I've seen online, and I agree with some of this analysis, is like the camera inverts and you see him float. Well, he's floating to the surface, but then it inverts and it looks like he's landing on like clouds or something. And he's in the fetal position and he's brought back to life. Yeah. And that is very clearly an allusion to like a rebirth.
Sure,
in a way.
Yeah, I can see that.
And that's why a lot of people point to Haley Atwell Grace in the movie being
her name is Grace.
Her name is Grace.
So
being more of like a almost a maternal figure in a way in that moment, and that the compression chamber scene being almost more of like this like incubator kind of thing. I saw somebody post in response the scene from, I forget which mission, I think it may have been Fallout, but it's Ving Rhames going, and you wouldn't have sex with your sister, right? Right?
Yeah.
Oh no, it was from 3. It was from 3 because he was talking about the agent that he was training, who died on the helicopter.
Yeah.
Because he's asking like, what was up with your relationship with her? And he's like, I was training her. She was like, he's like, she was like my younger sister, and you wouldn't have sex with your younger sister, right? Right, Ethan? Yeah.
So I don't,
confusing metaphors,
a little
visual
weird.
metaphors.
Yeah, because it's like, what do you? Because okay, what does that even mean? What is he? What are they trying to say with that?
I mean, I think it's all part of the general hero's journey of death and rebirth, and it being
But
little like this, like, Jesus-esque thing.
But he needs a conflict that makes, I guess, essentially the big essential problem with Ethan Hunt as a character is that there's no real conflict there. What would he need
like as a person?
Yeah, because what would he need to be reborn from? In that moment, he's doing exactly what he was going to do anyway.
Yeah.
So if we're taking the first half of the movie, calling this the breaking point, and then looking at the second half
there's
of
no
the
major
movie,
change in him as a character.
right.
Yeah, I agree.
So what is the point of all of this?
I don't know. But I did, it did strike me initially from my cinema studies major at one point as like, this is clearly a rebirth of some kind. I don't know why. I don't know how this is going to play out, but him being in that fetal position and floating up, and then the switch happening where he's floating down, and then being like her breathing life back into him is very Christian. Very, I don't know. It just felt, it panged of that in a way. And
Not Church of Scientology at all.
I don't have the answers, is what I'm saying. But I'm just saying that's something that initially jumped out at me. Maybe that was a Macquarie thing. Maybe he was trying to say something. I don't really know.
Yeah, I don't know, because I don't know what I'd have to watch it again really and kind of analyze that, because I don't really know what was meant to be the sentiment there.
Maybe he wasn't even thinking that hard. Maybe it was just like, this looks cool.
Honestly, until I read some stuff about that, that's all I thought was like, that was a cool shot. To have him float up and it kind of be like, the way that I interpreted that in a very shallow way is, is
talking about the ocean.
Is that like his death? You would think that he sank to the bottom, but in the ocean, in that circumstance, sinking would be floating. So kind of inverting that to like as a visual cue of like, from a very logistical standpoint, I just thought it was a cool shot.
He sank up.
Yeah, just to kind of illustrate that he's dead. He died. And like you would think that you die and you return to the ground.
Yeah.
And that is essentially what he did inverted. So I just thought like it looked cool. I didn't think about it in any kind of like biblical or metaphorical sense until another reading of that scene, and I was like, oh, okay, I could see that too. But I was very like a dummy, like, oh, no, look cool.
It's not dummy. It's not dummy. You're so smart. No, actually, now that you talk about that element, maybe it was more of a thing of like, he is floating up to heaven, essentially. And when the camera flips, it's like, because the surface is covered in ice.
Yeah.
But it looks like clouds. So
Yeah.
maybe it's more like he has arrived in heaven. He's like, he's there now. He's in the afterlife, essentially.
Well, he did die, but then when it inverts, that's essentially like him being brought back to life.
Could be. Could be. Could be.
I like that. That's a bridge between both metaphors.
I think so. I mean, we'll never know unless we get to interview Macquarie or TC.
One day,
maybe.
One day. He went on the Pat McAfee show,
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, he wasn't there in studio. He did but
It's better than nothing.
just get him on the phone. If he wanted to spare 30 seconds and just be like, what's up, guys? I'm TC. I'd be like, that's enough. Yeah. Just hang up on him. It's not going to get any better.
I'd cry.
Okay.
I'd cry.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Yeah.
So you got that scene. He is revived.
Yeah.
He makes it back. And then I'm spacing on what happens directly after that.
I think the team comes back together.
Yeah.
Because they're all in Alaska at this point.
Right.
The guy's shack is burned down.
Yeah. Right, and this is, but there's still, well, the plane sequence happens after this.
Yeah, that's towards the end.
Yeah, so you have,
there's a lot of the drama in the war room, I think, at this point.
There's a lot of that stuff.
They're talking about basically what could be nuclear annihilation. They get to... Was it at this point that they get to that, like, sarcophagus that TC jumps
Right,
into?
that's what I was trying to figure out. At what point do they do that part? I can't remember if
that was before.
Yeah. It was before because that's how he knew.
He got the plan to go to Alaska.
All right, let's talk about that for a second. The sarcophagus thing.
Yeah. He has this Clockwork Orange moment where he sees all these terrible things happening.
Why would the entity show him all of that stuff?
I think because it was betting on the fact that he wouldn't do what he was going to do.
But that's just it's just kind of like just flies in the face of what they're trying to say about the entity in the first place.
Well, that was the whole conversation within the whole conflict with him going along with this plan was they were all saying, like, what if this is exactly what the entity wants you to think and do?
Right.
What if this is all part of that plan? And
I guess I just maybe because I've put so much trust into the character itself, but like there was never a moment where I thought he was wrong. Like everything that he said made perfect sense. Like you should help me because this plan makes it. Like if I do, it felt like there was never a moment where I felt like, well, he made this decision independent of a better solution because he sees something that we don't. Yeah. Right. Like, I know this is going to be a very simpleton example, so forgive me or fuck you.
Okay.
But there's
that
moment, that pivotal moment in Infinity War where Doctor Strange gives Thanos the Time Stone.
Yeah.
And he's like, if you spare Tony's life, I'll give you this. No tricks. And Tony's like, I hope that you're right. Essentially alluding to like he went forward in time, saw 1,000,000,001, and there was only one instance where this all worked out, right? And obviously it's a long payoff, but it does work out in their favor, and he needed to do that, so on and so forth.
But terrible things happen in the meantime,
right? And in that moment, it does feel like a bad decision. You're like, well, why would he? Why would he do that? And it pays off later. In this, everything that he does, you're just kind of like, well, he takes painstaking steps to let you know that this is the only way that this is going to work.
Yep.
So it's like if you're a character in the movie, you go, well, it's Ethan Hunt, IMF agent, 25 years.
Right.
Like if he says that this is the only thing that we can do, well, I don't have any better ideas.
Yeah.
So, So I guess I'm just saying I wish that there was any kind of moment where they're like, well, if we just do this, we don't have to do that. And then he has to be like, I am telling you, the only way to do that, other than the brain trust, the American brain trust saying like we need to nuke everyone. Sure. That's the only moment where it's like, well, we could just nuke everybody. And even that seems like such a crazy, rash decision to be like, the only thing that we can do is nuke everyone because Ethan can't be trusted. He's not going to make it back in time. And so we have to nuke everyone. This is the end game. So yeah, I just wish that there was any kind of, again, it's going back to the stakes. It just feels like.
Well, I think what they did say in the movie was the entity didn't calculate for the fact that Ethan was willing to do like the least probable thing to make this work. Like he would either conform to the entity's plan, which I was hoping for, that his mind would be melded by it and just he would be a true believer eventually and do what it says, or what happened was he fought against that idea and said, no, this isn't the only way it's going to go, and decided to do the impossible, air quotes, to make it work.
Right. So are we to believe that the entity, are they essentially saying that AI is still busted and it doesn't know everything.
Yeah.
Okay, I can accept that.
I think that what you were saying before is exactly what it was, is that Ethan has this faith in himself, in his team, and I think in fate in general, to work out in long form, that the entity did not, and didn't account for that.
Yeah. I guess I'm just always thinking, like, in these movies with these tropes, artificial intelligence is always used as like a all-seeing, all-knowing thing, and that you like once something like that takes over, unless you destroy the entire system from the inside out, it's inevitable, because it's like a super computer that's constantly learning. And how can you be one step ahead if it knows your every move and stuff like that? So like, short of Ethan shooting himself in the face, because that's one thing where you're like, well, I don't think he would ever do that.
Yeah.
It just feels like they would.
Well, doing the unexpected doesn't mean it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, right. I guess it's just like how surprised, like being able to subvert the entity's expectations.
Yeah.
At every turn, basically.
Sure.
Was kind of like, well, what the fuck? It doesn't know shit, because he fucking figured the whole thing out, and he had a plan ready to go, and the plan worked. And like, what was the?
It was almost like, I think what it was really was like, the entity was so cocky in the fact that it knew everything, that it kind of told the entire story in hopes that it would convince him to go along with its plan.
Right.
But it didn't account for the fact that Ethan is dumb. He's gonna just do it anyway.
Right.
And so I think it was more of a thing of like, the entity was probably thinking like, there's no way he's gonna even try this.
Right.
And if he does, he's gonna fail, because
Right.
he's like statistically gonna fail 99% of the time.
Right.
And
Yeah.
he didn't, because he's Ethan.
Right.
You know, like that's the way it works.
All
so
right. I can buy that.
yeah, I think that's what it was about, really, is like, even the team was like, there's no way this is gonna work.
Right.
You have like, a tenth of a second to pull the thing out. Once you even get the doohickey, that is almost impossible to get to, because there's only a small chance that the U.S. submarine is going to be in the right place in the right time,
Right.
and hear the signal, and then you're going to transmit the signal at the right time, that it's up at the certain depth that it needs to be at.
Yeah,
and yada, yada, yada.
everything, every single beat of this movie had to go exactly the way that it went.
And the probability of that happening is nearly impossible.
Right. Okay.
So-
all right. All right. All right. I'm in. I'm back on.
Yeah.
I'm in.
But you need an Ethan there to try, because no one else would have even tried.
Right.
You see that with the bureaucracy of the U.S. government there, saying like, there's like, we can't trust that this is going to work.
Right.
Are you crazy? This isn't going to work. What we have to do is batten down the hatches, get ready for the entity to start shooting these rockets up. You know, we can't get rid of our own defenses, because we know they're going to start shooting at us, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
All right.
I think the overall theme is faith.
Yeah.
And the human spirit to try,
Yeah.
even when chances are slim to none.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. Yeah, and I like that.
Yes.
I like that. I can rock with that.
Yeah.
I can rock with that. Okay.
So the other big action set piece,
The plane.
the planes. Oh my
The
goodness.
boss, the planes.
Oh my
The
goodness.
planes.
The plane.
Crazy, man.
Yeah.
First of all, like, even just, man. Even just getting into the first plane before he even gets on Gabriel's plane,
Yeah.
the woof, and him grabbing onto the, I mean, such a like a Buster Keaton kind of moment,
yes.
and I was
Looney
like,
Tunes again. It's
it
like
was-
it's a cartoon.
it really
Amazing.
was
Yeah.
so good, and I loved it. And when he's like crawling around on the plane, and then he
the
gives
Indiana
him
Jones.
the super punch, the 80s like one punch knockout. Guy falls out of the plane as it. I mean,
He turns
just
it over,
slowly,
so the guy goes.
every moment
Yeah.
of the planes, I was like, dude, this could be the whole movie.
I wish I could rewatch it right now.
Yeah.
I love that.
Every second of that, I was like, this is
Yeah.
the best.
Yeah.
This is the best.
Yes.
Him holding on, him like crawling around the undercarriage of these planes.
Yeah.
The
Getting the
par-
legs wrapped up on
Dude,
there.
yeah,
and-
grabbing the thing so that he couldn't turn the plane anymore.
yeah,
I mean,
the rudder, he's just holding it down.
Ah, man. And then finally giving him the super punch and bang. Ah, man. So good. Every second of it.
Gabriel knifing through the plane.
Yeah.
Try to get at him. It's very Indiana Jones. All of it is very Indiana Jones.
And then once he finally gets him out of the plane, the final comeuppance for Gabriel
God,
was
so good.
shocking.
Yeah.
I was like,
well, first he breaks the hell out of his arm.
oh, yeah, that's right.
It's like dangling behind
the
him.
arm break is crazy. And they hang on it
Yeah.
for far too long. And he's just going, ah! His arm is like Freddy Krueger. It's out to a mile. He's just holding on to it. Then finally gets him out of the plane. And then you think it's over. Then it's not over.
Because he has the parachute.
Yeah. And then, which I really thought was super funny, was like, he goes, well, you don't have a parachute, so who cares? And then it turns out that he just did have a parachute.
No, I think he got it from the other seat.
Oh, okay. Because at first I was like, he's
Same.
talking shit.
Same.
But he had one.
I was like, what? Because at first I thought what they were going to do is he was going to have to, like, dive for Gabriel's body.
I thought that's what he was going to do, too.
And put it on
Yeah.
in time. But no, he jumped into the other seat. I thought this little segment was him putting his seatbelt on.
Yeah.
Was him putting on the other parachute.
Okay, all right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I was like,
Okay.
what a weird thing to talk shit about.
He smashes his
It's
face
like,
on the rudder.
dude.
Which is awesome.
Insane. I audibly gasped. I think I said, oh, shit. Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Boom. Because
And then his spike just
and then
slides
he
off.
just gone, dead. And I saw an interview with the actor, and he was like, I'd love for them to bring him back
Okay.
somehow. And I'm like, you
He's
got
just
your
gonna have-
wig split,
He's
bro.
going to look
What
like
are
a hammerhead shark.
you, just flat.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? It looked like the T2, the T1000. Just as what do you? Yeah, you're dead, dude.
You're dead.
You're dead. There,
It's
you
over.
could be. You are unmistakably dead
Yes.
because you're dead.
Yeah. There's no way.
Yeah. So all of that whole sequence.
Oh, my God.
Fantastic.
What, and it's such a clever flip on Top Gun
Yeah.
because these are old-timey planes.
Yeah.
They're the propeller planes, the dual wing planes.
And he kind of, I mean, he knows because he's obviously
pilot.
piloted. Yeah,
Yeah.
but he doesn't know. Like he's
Biplane.
yeah.
Dual wing plane.
dual wing,
Yeah.
X-wing planes. You
Yeah.
know. But he even in that moment, it's kind of like, oh no, like is it too old of a plane? By the way, why were they even biplanes? Why like? There's an explanation.
The Entity.
Oh, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Okay, maybe they did take more steps than I realized.
Yeah. I had the same question, and I was like, wait a minute.
That makes sense. That makes
Uh-huh.
sense. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and even when he gets in, even when he finally, like, the fight scene's over and he finally gets in the plane and everything and he's piloting it by himself, you're still like, oh no, he might not make it out of this either because he's got the hard drive.
Yeah.
He's got the thing. He's put it in there or whatever.
Plane stalls out.
And you're like, is this
Catches
how
fire.
I'm thinking like, okay, now they're finally gonna kill him. Like
Yeah.
he's gonna crash the plane and like
the
his
sacrifice.
final moment is him gonna be putting the thing in there, her snatching the thing, the entity, and capturing the entity in that little
Yeah.
thing. And then the plane's gonna go down and it's gonna be a whole thing where they're like, and then they could do a cute thing where maybe a flash of him walking away from the
Sure.
wreckage and you're like, oh, he's not dead,
Yeah.
or something. But I thought
Yeah.
that was, I'm like, if they're gonna do it, this
would be
is the
it.
moment.
Yeah.
And then he just jumps out of the way. He's fine.
Yeah. See some shepherds.
Yeah, I thought that was that was funny. I like that. Even when he's falling out of the plane, and he pulls a chute catches on fire. The guy next to me goes, and I was like, dude, you think they're gonna kill him like this?
Yeah.
He's gonna jump out of the plane and not have an emergency suit, and then just fall like a rock and hit the ground and die?
You didn't hit the QTE prompts in time.
Exactly.
Just gonna die.
I was like, dude, calm down, Mister Popcorn Bucket. Man, I got to talk about that. I don't know if I'll talk about it at the end. But
What a movie experience.
yeah, we'll talk about the experience.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's essentially the big set piece.
Yeah.
and then we get the epilogue of everything.
Yep.
Of she obviously snatches the thing.
Yes.
Captures
The entity. Mm-hmm. Yep. They use the virus to make it run away into that cube and snatch it just in time before it is able to spread elsewhere and start the nuclear holocaust. Mm-hmm. Ethan hands over the doohickey to what's his name? Jim Phelps Jr.
but not before we get.
Or I guess technically to Kittredge. He gives it to Kittredge, who is with Phelps Jr. And
I gotta take a piss. You keep.
Okay.
Just give us the end.
Sure.
But there's the. He gives it to him, but it was the monologue, right? Big Rank's monologue.
Yeah. Right.
Message was self-destruct.
Yes. So we have a moment when we catch up with Ethan, who is just parachuted into the ground, and he survived, and he finds out that, well, actually no, they knew already that, Sherry, we're gonna finish very soon. I promise. Okay, quickly. What happens is Ethan knew that there was a message on the bug that Luther created, which is essentially the virus. So after he plugged it in, the device ended up having this final message for him that essentially says, like, like, you've done the right thing this entire time, and the people that we've saved over these years, they you may never see them, but it matters, essentially. Like, the work that we've done matters, and I'll see you, but hopefully not soon. And that's kind of the end of that little monologue that he had
Beautiful
recorded
monologue.
To the
Big beautiful monologue.
the device. So yes, after that, he hands over the device after it self-destructs to Kittredge. We get this moment with Jim Phelps Jr. in which it looks like he's about to shoot him because he says, I've got something for you later. Mm-hmm. And he ends up turning the gun around and
Finally get their little payoff because for
Yeah.
the past 3 movies, he's been the one who's been the main kind of, agent. Excuse me, that's doing the right thing and chasing him and
the new Kittredge.
yeah. This it's just that easy trope of this is the guy who's doing everything, like you said, the by the book guy.
Yeah.
And he's trying to bring him in. So then you finally get that moment of I understand finally.
Yeah.
The sacrifices that you've made for this country.
Yeah. I
And for this
respect you.
war, for this nation.
They dap each other up.
They did dap each other up. That was so weird.
Yeah. It was
I thought it was so. They did
was
the
one of these,
handshake and then turned it into one of these.
and then
I was like, wait, what
and then Tom walks right past him.
was that? I didn't think that. What was that?
I don't know. I think that was more of I respect you and you're my brother. That's how I took it. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really confused.
Yeah.
I was really like, is this? I missed
Okay.
something. What's
All
this?
right.
What's this about?
This man's down.
Did like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So after all that, we get to the final conclusion, I think, where they all just see each other in this nondescript European city.
Yeah.
Give each other a little nod and we're still good. We're not going to reconvene because we're all undercover and whatnot. Leads them, leads us to believe that there's still secrecy afoot because they can't get together.
Yeah, I kind of felt like I kind of felt like that was a little weird too, because they didn't really. I guess they didn't really answer. Like, is the IMF disbanded? Is there still a threat?
I will say the ending left me wanting a little bit because there wasn't a real conclusion. It felt like they left the door a little too open for what could come next.
Right.
And I was a little disappointed in the fact that there wasn't more of like a bookend of like, okay, this is the end, at least for Ethan.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens next.
Well, he should have died. He either should have died or, they should have had
Or
a more
retired.
conclusive, like, I'm done. I'm out.
Make him the new guy on the recording that's like, if you choose to accept it.
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
Or kill Kittredge and then make him the new leader of the
New
IMF.
Kittredge, yeah.
Okay, so here's maybe my biggest beef with the movie, with Final Reckoning.
Yes.
Because my biggest beef with Dead Reckoning and Final Reckoning is obviously
The entity?
Gabriel and the entity and
Yeah.
the red herring and all that stuff. But my biggest beef with Final Reckoning is that end sequence. I the whole time that we're talking about how no one should have the power of the entity,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They trap it in this little thing, and even Haley Atwell's character Grace is like, you should have it.
Yeah,
and
I would
he's
trust
like,
you with
because
it.
he says in a moment, like, once we trap it, like, what do we do with it? And he's like, no one should be responsible for this sort of thing. He says, who would you trust any person on this planet?
Yeah.
To have that kind of responsibility? And she's like, I would trust you. She says it without a moment's doubt. But the implication is that she is full of blind faith for Ethan.
Yeah.
And Ethan knows better than pretty much everyone else in the movie. And he's like, no one should have this sort of responsibility. No one should be in charge of this thing.
No one man
it
should have all
be
this power.
killed. No one man should have all this power.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he's just like, you know what?
Thanks.
Maybe I will. He puts it in his coat pocket and he's like, I'll think about it.
I want to excuse this away. I want to hand wave this by saying I think he keeps it because he doesn't want it to be like destroyed but then reused by someone else. I think he trusts himself to hold on to it, like, you know, the Lord of the Rings, the ring of ultimate power. He's the only one who can keep this safe, you know? I don't read it as him using it. He's not going to use it.
No, I don't read it that way either. I read it that way, is that he finally accepts the responsibility that, I guess, maybe I have to really kind of rewatch these and kind of, you know, really look for these subtleties, but I don't think the conflict was him going, I'm not ready for this sort of responsibility, or that I don't want this sort of responsibility. He always seemed to jump headfirst into any kind of conflict.
Sure.
And because he knew what was best, he had a very strong moral compass. And I don't think there was any, other than in this movie and maybe Dead Reckoning, like any kind of self-doubt as far as the decisions that he's making, as far as like how I think they allude to him having self-doubt about like how it affects him personally, and if people really even understand the sacrifices that he's making, or if it's even worth it.
Whenever anyone dies or suffers for his calls, he has self-doubt.
Right. But I think essentially the movies move at such a breakneck speed, and they don't really battle these tough conversations in a way that is, I don't know, sufficient enough to, I guess, once you get to this ending, it's kind of like, well, why would he make that decision? He's never really... This is not the central conflict here, I don't think. It's like him finally accepting responsibility. He's always done that. So for him, I don't know. It just felt to me like it was like just kind of like was... It was confusing, really. You get to the end, and I thought for sure, after everything that was said and done, that he was going to drop it on the ground and crush
Step
it under
on,
his foot, and that was going to be the big moment of the movie.
Yeah.
And instead, he's like, maybe I should be the arbiter of this. It's like, that doesn't... To me, it goes against the character, and maybe I'm missing something. So if anybody else, if you've listened to this and you
Let us
have
know
a better theory, please, because I really feel like I missed something, or it was a misstep.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. It was weird.
And I got to the end, and I was just like, oh, all of this leading to this, and then it's that.
Well, anticlimactic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I would have even liked if he would have done that, and like we get a little teaser where somebody picks it up, you know,
Yeah.
like tries to revive it somehow.
That would have been cool.
You know, we could talk about
He throws it back into the
the
ocean.
children
and,
of the
like,
atom or something.
Somebody grabs it, and like,
you know,
maybe it's not over.
You can tease. You can tease.
Bum, 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 bum,
yes,
bum.
you do the tease, but that's
You
not
do
what
that,
we got.
And then you cut into the Fred Durst remix. We
listened to that on the way to the movie,
You
by the way.
did?
Yeah. One of the most annoying voices in all of rock history.
Yeah,
Incredible.
Yeah.
This
Come
mission's
on!
impossible. Come on. Take a look around. Okay, all that being said, what would you rate Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning?
I would give The Final Reckoning a 5 out of 6 bottle caps.
I agree completely.
Yeah, I think it improves on Dead Reckoning.
Yeah.
It's not a perfect movie. I have issues.
Yeah.
But for what it is, the movie is fast, efficient, entertaining, a thrill ride through and through. There are some emotional beats that work. They really work. That
Yeah.
I do want to stress that there are moments of levity, and there's like emotional moments that really work. And they do a really good job with those moments. They don't feel hacky. They don't feel forced.
Yeah.
So they do work, and you're in it. And I think if you give yourself over to the movie, it's awesome.
Yeah.
You will have. There are some like weird questions that you may have about it. I mean, I don't know if we've even really unearthed as much as we could conceptually.
Sure.
But if you just like let it be what it is, it was pretty fucking good.
Yeah, I think it stands as a perfectly sufficient conclusion to the franchise, and I think it was really a love letter to the Mission Impossible nerds like us.
Yeah.
I really found a lot to love about it. Do I think it's the best of the series? No, but I think it did what it needed to. I think it's still a super good, satisfying action movie that I will certainly come back to. So, recommend it. 5 out of 6. Unanimous. 5 out of 6 for The Final Reckoning.
The Final Reckoning.
You got anything else to say about it?
About the movie itself, no. You want to talk about the movie going experience a little bit?
Okay, real quick.
Just real quick before we get out of here.
First of all, there was I don't know, I'm sure you did. I'm sure you heard this. 2 things. A guy diagonal from us
Yeah.
kept doing one of these every 15 minutes, maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah. The guy was. Oh, yeah.
Number 2,
Didn't like that.
the guy in the exact opposite section. I don't know why his seat was so
I didn't
squeaky.
hear that guy. I think
Oh
he
my
was.
God.
I think he was closer to you than he was to me. I didn't hear that guy.
It sounded like it was right behind me, but every 30 minutes at least, I would hear an extended.
I think it was. I think that guy. Like, I think he heard that too, and I think he. You know, it's one of those things where you're like leaning too far back in a chair and you don't really realize,
Yeah.
or you're like drumming on a desk and you don't know how annoying it is for everyone else.
Sure.
I had a couple next to me, and the guy was directly next to me, and then the wife, girlfriend, whatever, was in the seat next to him,
Yeah.
and they liked it, they loved it, they were enthralled every moment.
Yeah.
They were sharing a box of popcorn, box of popcorn. Bowl of
Bucket.
popcorn? Bucket. Thank you. I was like, I know there's a better word for this.
Popcorn bucket.
Popcorn bucket. And boy, they got the extra large, which, by the way, like,
Millionaires, apparently.
yeah, And so he's they're down to the bottom of the bucket, and I see this once out the corner of my eye, and I'm like, well, that can't be true. There's no way he's actually done that. He's got it like a massive cup, and he's holding it with both hands, and he's like, the popcorn is just falling into his face. He's holding it up to his mouth, and it's just falling into his face. And I was like, the first time he did it, I was like, that can't be true. And then the second time he did, do you want to give before I continue, do you want to give a quick little your thoughts on?
Yeah,
we're at the end, so give like a little
we've already
30 seconds
reviewed-
to a minute.
I'm not camera ready.
All right,
Well,
be off
put you on the-
camera.
you can put it on the
Okay. What my thoughts are?
mic. Yeah.
Just a quick little
We
like.
both gave it unanimous 5 out of 6 bottle caps.
Oh.
We thought it was good. It had some plot holes. There was some confusion towards the end, but overall, fun time at the movies.
I think it was a really fun time. I do think that it was very indulgent for Tom Cruise.
That's a good word.
Sure.
And not that there's anything wrong with that, but you could just tell that he was like, I want to do the zaniest stunts. I want to climb on a plane. I want to.
That's true. We forgot about the chosen one part about
Yeah,
this whole.
like he's
You're the
chosen
only one who
plot.
can do this.
everything has led up to him, specifically Ethan Hunt, saving the world. Like how he was meant, Tom Cruise, to do all these movies, and that he's meant to be a master of action and film. I mean, I kept thinking that, I'm like, okay, we get it, you're like amazing Tom Cruise. But I do think it was a fun movie. It's obviously like a perfect summer blockbuster.
Yeah.
And I had a good time. I thought one of the biggest sort of cons I have about the movie is that like the first hour is just a big recap, I feel like.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I had a good time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. Thank you, Sherry.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
And then when the movie ended, people did the classic clap. They cheered
did.
for it.
They did.
They cheered for this movie. You don't get that a lot
No.
nowadays.
No.
So
Got some real blockbuster movie heads.
And I will say, although there was like some weird people in the movie theater, as far as like, Mr. Cough guy, Mr. Chair guy, Mr. Popcorn Bucket guy, everyone was pretty respectful. Like there wasn't a lot of talking, and I didn't see a lot of screens.
I was a little worried. There was a literal child there.
Yeah.
Like a 10-year-old maybe.
Yeah, I was scared about that.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to go south pretty fast. It would be
Yeah.
like a sonic boom from a plane, and then he's just going to freak out. But no, it was good. It was
Good time. Good time at the movies.
It was a good time at the movies.
Recommend it.
We'll see you at the movies.
All right. Does that about do it?
I think so.
This has been the One Reel In podcast. That's a wrap.
Let's all go to the beach. 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 To get ourselves a treat.